And it's time once again for another episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network, sponsored each and every week by CVC Success Group. Our purpose, our mission in doing this is to share some concepts, some ideas, some processes that may be helpful to you. So here's the question for you, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Are you managing your company from a proactive or a reactive position? What's the way? And that's going to depend on your personality a lot. But here's what does proactive mean? It means this is a guy that's got somewhat of a crystal ball, can actually look into the future, anticipate the needs of the problems, and it acts early to prevent things from going wrong. The other person is a reactive personality. And a reactive personality is one that takes action after a problem, a situation, or a request has occurred. That's the two different thought process of reactive and proactive. So this subject today, this topic was one that Cheryl came up with when we were talking yesterday about the topic for the week. So Cheryl, what was your ideas when you said you want to talk about proactive and reactive management styles and personalities?
Well, it all comes down from clients, as you know. That's where most of our topics come from. But I got to thinking about what was a simple process to think about to do this. And I actually ran across one that I thought was a really good situation. Is what I think something, if you always lived like you were going on a vacation. I mean, when we get ready to go on a vacation, we start thinking about is the mail going to bound up? Do I have anything in the refrigerator? Do I have to stop something? Do I have to start something? We're going in a proactive situation of getting ready to go instead of getting on the plane and thinking, oh my God, I've got to call somebody and have them do all this. So I took it back to that part of being a simple situation. But I'm always hearing the client saying, I'm putting out fires. Why not think about the possibility of what could go wrong before that started? Most of that goes into the training your employees to do the things that they do correctly. And so you don't have to do it all the time. Because if you're always looking backwards in the mirror, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. So Josh, when we sent you the topic, what's your thoughts on this topic?
Well, actually, the very first thing I thought was, and actually, this is just great of what just happened before the phone call is, who do you call when you're, neck deep in it? I was having a frustrating problem because, to me, it's crystal clear. And you were able to say, hey, why don't you do XYZ to try and teach them, give it a different thought process than what I'm doing. So who do you call when you're when you're in the shit and you can't breathe? And do you have a friend group? Do you have a coach? Of course, that's why we're here, not to toot our own horns, but that's why we're here. Who do you call? Do you have someone that can shoulder your blame? Do you have a management? Do you have management team? Is your management team, shouldering some of that burden? One of the great things that you can do when you start as you learn from mistakes and things like that, you almost can crystal foresee the future with some of your installs, because that's where things are really going bad. Like, did we not follow our procedures? Were we not prepared? But yeah, how do you shoulder that load? I guess that's where I'm going to go with it this time, right this second.
Yeah. And Josh, it's kind of like writing systems, where a lot of times people write systems because they have a problem. They're not able to look into the future and see what the problems are. I know whenever I do an analysis for a client and I go on site for a couple days and I look at your operation, I'm seeing problems that are going to become very seriously. And when I looked up to this, about being proactive, These were 5 areas that the proactive person manager does. They're going to address problems before it becomes a serious issue. They're going to ask questions instead of waiting for instructions from somebody else. They're going to communicate the obstacles that face them early in it. They're going to be preparing ahead rather than scrambling later and taking responsibility without being asked. As you look at the 5 things I just mentioned, wouldn't it be great if the members of your team acted proactively? Cheryl, what do you think? You do interviews with people. Do you see where some people are more proactive or reactive in their personalities whenever you talk to them for employment?
You do. I mean, it's very obvious. It's in their, the more that they're putting off. A proactive person's usually less stress-free. He's done working the problems out in his mind. You've got, or even the thought of getting hired. He's already thought about his answers. He knows himself. He knows what it is. When they sit down in front of the camera, they're not like a reactive that's just got to pull an answer up. I see that a lot from watching people. They'll be looking for an answer. You and I kind of laugh at this sometimes when somebody's looking up and we know and we'll tell them the answer's not in the sky. They're reacting to what you said. Number one, they didn't listen to what you said first. But I think it shows in everybody what they are. And that's what we look for especially when I'm looking for an ops manager. I'm looking for someone that's proactive, much more than reactive.
Right. So let me bring this up, what reactive often looks like. And then just think it will be great. What if you had an employee that worked for you that fixed a problem, before it arose? What if you had people that didn't have to wait to be told what to do, rather they did it? What if you have people that respond to issues only when they become urgent? So often, customers would get lost. It ends up in bad reviews, ends up in bad customer relations. People that act under pressure rather than planning ahead, it's going to raise the chaos level. It's going to raise the blood pressure. And people that address mistakes after the fact, such as doing an installation and then finding out later there's a problem that they could have fixed whenever they were doing the installation, that's what we're looking for. So not only do we need proactive managers, we need proactive workforces. Josh, what do you think about that? Where does that sit in your mind?
I love being proactive, and some of the stuff, checklists. That's how we planned, was with checklists. If you were just to sell a wood insert, I think I have 30 to 40 bullet points you got to go through to make sure before you can sell a wood insert. I guarantee nobody's got more than 5 written up. Why do I have 40? Because I've been bit in the ass too many times, right? Like we were a large harsh shop. We were doing, 10 to 20 appliances a week, depending on the time of year, just inserts. And most of the time you found out why did it fail? It was because we didn't do our checklist correctly.
Yeah. So I think that people have to have a leader that is proactive for them to follow and emulate. I think that's part of the culture within the company. What are you growing? Are you growing a workforce of reactive people? Or are you growing a workforce of proactive people? Because the workforce with the proactive people is going to take you much further, much farther ahead than the people that are reactive and when the problems come up. Cheryl, am I on track with what I'm saying?
You're on track. And a thing that I kind of got together was the difference in the reactive, when you have a reactive or a proactive management, when you've got a reactive management, there's always stress, there's burnout, there's low morale, confusion. There's just a confusion mainly around priorities and reduced trust in the leadership. And that's a problem. If you've got a proactive management, you've got confidence and clarity. You've got accountability and ownership. You've got higher engagement and performances. And we see this every day when we're dealing with teams. We can look at the management and we know exactly how their team's feeling.
Yeah, very much so. Josh, when the people you're working with, do you think they're more proactive or reactive?
Reactive. And that's what I try and teach is, how do we head these things off, and I go back to my checklists over and over and over and over and over, but and some of this, I don't have every answer because, some of this, and like today, I was very frustrated with what I was telling you earlier today, because I just I don't understand how to communicate this to, to the techs. Like, how do who are picking the wrong things when they're estimating? Because then it picks the wrong number of, not only the wrong materials, but the wrong number of hours. So, and I forgot where I was going with this.
Which results in that thing that we all hate, which is waste.
Waste. Yep.
It results in wasted manpower, wasted materials. I was just, and like I said, but again, Josh, what do you do when you have somebody that absolutely will not follow your systems and things keep going bad?
You have to hit the eject button.
Let me give you an example. We got a great sales guy, but he can't do the paperwork to get the job done right. What do we do with that person?
Eventually, you got to make a decision. And I hate penalizing him because it's such a negative thing, but you have to have, escalators or reasons for them to care, right? Like, so I like it. I would rather escalate their commission versus de-escalate it or go down, penalize them. I'd rather say, okay, in order for you to earn the full commission, you have to do A, B, C, and D, right? You have to do your follow-ups. You have to do your this. You have to have all your checklists filled out in order for this to be a full commissioned report.
Okay.
And that's one way. And eventually, the waste becomes worse than the salesperson. And you saw that in my store. Some people just will not change. You put bundles together and they still can't even bother to select the right bundles. They don't check their work. And eventually at some point they have to go. And yep. I hate to say that, but we're in I say that especially us, we're in a very specialized industry. And when you walk into, a store, let's just say the cigar store, because I go there every once in a while. When I ask for recommendations, I expect expert advice, right? If I call my, my neighbor's my FFL dealer across the street, sells me my pews. If I call him and ask for advice, like I'm expecting expert advice, not I don't know, I'm wishy-washy. We're experts, and you have to walk the walk and and talk the talk all the time.
That's it. That's what a customer expects. I mean, we had a plumbing issue earlier this week here, and we called a company that we felt we could trust. They came in next day and got the problem solved. I wasn't here. Cheryl was. But Cheryl, did they operate did they do what we thought they should do?
The guy was extremely good at what he was doing. Young gentleman, very young gentleman. But I mean, he told me the layout of what could happen, what should be the problem, what could be the problem and what he would have to do if he did each one of them. And when he found out the first step didn't work, he got to me very quickly, very proactively, telling me that, okay, I'm going to have to go get an auger to fix this. I'll return. He was gone just a few minutes. He was back, and he worked the whole time he was here and met our expectations to the limit. I mean, I know you were a little leery of leaving me here without being here, but I couldn't have asked for a better experience than I had there. And that's what a customer is looking for. You get that with a proactive person.
Yep. Well, Josh, is anything you want to add to this discussion before we end this topic and end this broadcast for the week?
No, like I said, I think go back to my first point is when you're in the muck, who are you going to call? You know, if you have some sort of support network, you know, whether you or, you know, friends group, other people in the industry, people outside the industry, do you have someone that can look at it from a, you know, and say, how are you tackling this problem? You know, there's people out there to help you. You don't have to shoulder it 100% on your own.
Okay. Cheryl, what about you? Anything you want to add to these? Like I said, this was your topic.
What I'd like to add is just a couple questions that if everybody would ask themselves, they could change from one position to the other. The first one is, what problems do I keep asking repeatedly over and over? Number two, where am I relying on urgency instead of systems? 3, what risk am I ignoring because they aren't urgent yet? And the fourth one, if I were gone for a week, what would break?
Okay, got you covered. Josh, anything you want to add?
Well, that last one, number 4, was a good one. If I'm not there, what will break? I think everyone needs to generate their business towards that. Will this run without the wheels falling off if I'm not there to keep bolting them on?
Yeah,
That's a great one.
Well, again, try to develop your skills as a manager to be more proactive, and try to build the culture up in your people to where they're proactive. This goes back into the hiring, the initial training, the morning meetings that are held every day. What are you doing to keep your people on the forefront? I just hit morning meetings. This is something that a lot of companies do that really makes a difference. A lot of them don't. It's something that can really work to build towards being proactive when you have this daily communication, this daily huddle with your people. And with that, we're going to end today's topic. We're going to end this week's broadcast. We appreciate you joining us always. It's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure. And we're CVC Success Group. If we can help you, reach out to us. You see all of our emails right there on the screen in front of you. We'd love to have a conversation, see if we can help you get to that elusive dream you've got in business. We've helped others, and we'll be glad to work with you. Talk to you later. Look forward to hearing from you.